me.
Yeah, what is this? Yeah. Well, I love your story. You got a lot going on as an entrepreneur, a children's book author, self-publishing coach. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into it, I want to know, I know we're all getting COVID fatigue talking about it, but I got to know because it was such a big moment for all of us. How did you get through that time period and how did it change the way that you approach your work now?
That's a great way to kick off. And so I would say that my entrepreneurial journey really actually kicked off in the pandemic. So it really ties into my children's book. So around that time, working at corporate, and I had published my, probably second book or so as well at that time, is that, we're sitting there, we're dreaming of possibly going home, right? You got the IT people that maybe already were working remotely, but for everybody else, it's like maybe one day, but you're like, that'll never happen, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, okay, bye, go home. And you're like, what? Like, this is an actual possibility? Luckily, no one in my family was, affected, immediate family was affected by it, but I know that for a lot, they, lost someone during that time. Um, in a entrepreneurial side of things that during that time I was a tutor. Okay. So when I was at home, I was a tutor for reading tutor. And so I was thinking like, okay, well, who's going to read to the kids? What are we going to do? And I started to do virtual story times is when I got into that. And I said, okay, I saw how hard it was to be the talent and read and hold a book and everything. And then also send the link to the parent that maybe forgot. And then also be secure to make sure nobody's being weird, right? As everybody was, Zoom bombing and craziness. And I thought, what if other people need help
Yeah.
with this? And so that was an opportunity that I was able to shift and open the Global Impact Agency that helps, professionals, coaches that may not be that tech savvy, or beyond that, they need to focus on being the talent and they don't have time for all of the behind the scenes. So during the pandemic, that was happening for me. And I was able to grow a business just by identifying an opportunity.
So let's get to the heart and soul of everything that you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Yeah, so with that, third graders, they're always the best. Um, so with that, I would just tell them like, hey, like what children's books are you reading right now? What books are you reading or so? And I'll say, have you ever thought about that process of how it's made? Maybe you're an author, or, well, do you like to draw? Are you an illustrator? Well, I hope those put that together so that you can enjoy those children's books. So that's how I would break down what I do and how I help coach others.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
So I'm pretty sure I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Okay.
Um, and so that is, and I'm not, okay? So that did not happen. But I would definitely say that it's why it's important to try Storm. And as I got older, I had an opportunity to shadow a veterinarian, and I actually got to go into like the surgery. And after that, I said, mm-mm, that's not for me. So I'm glad I was able to take the opportunity to try that out and to realize that that is not for me
Yeah.
and to pivot.
So what was your favorite book growing up?
So I really loved Animorphs, right? And so that's something that, because in my stories, I draw back to my childhood a lot. And so I realized that even when I was tutoring, that children really enjoyed books that were relatable or that were fun, right? And so that's how I really choose my themes in my children's books and try to make sure that I'm getting connected to those kids that may not like to read because, heads up, I was one of them.
So take me back to your childhood. What were the seeds that were planted into you to become an author and to have this be like reading and promoting? How did this become your focal point?
Yeah, so growing up, my father told me that he really wanted me to be a teacher. Okay. So in my mind, I thought, like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something else. But when I look back at that, he was right. That there are different forms of teaching. So now when I go in and do a story time, I'm teaching a lesson. So actually, he was right, and I have to give him credit for that. And then also he put that entrepreneurial side into us, and I would say my family in general, because when we were younger, we would have like these yard sales, right? And I'm like, what are we doing? But when we're out there, you're out early, you're pricing everything. That is a business in itself, just the amount of money that you can make in one day. So when I think back about that and think, okay, ever since we were little, having to get up early and help with sales with that, with just as simple as yard sales, that was building the entrepreneurship within us.
What was it like the first time that you published a book? What was that opening day? What was it opening the first box, seeing the first letter? What was all of that like?
Oh my gosh. So, well, I'll just remind people. So those, if you're an aspiring author, you're on that journey, it's challenging. It really is. I looked at YouTube, and in 2024, you have so much information out there that it can be just a lot and overwhelming for someone. So just getting that children's book in hand, it was a huge accomplishment for me. And I would say that's really the first time that I took something out of my mind, that I took something from my imagination and used my creativity to actually get it into reality in my hand. So that was huge. That was a little bit of an ego booster
Yeah,
too.
I get it. So who's been a hero for you? Who's been that inspiration in your life?
Yeah, yeah. So I would definitely say that I don't want to just say one person, because if I say my dad, my mom's like, what about me? Yeah, if I say mom, I would say definitely my family in general. We laugh, we have a good time. Just the creativity just runs through our family, and that's something that it gets a little dark, but even when I'm like sitting at, someone's funeral, and they're reading the obituary or talking about what they do, I didn't even know that they had that creativity and entrepreneurial side in them as well. So that's a really opened to my eyes up that this is something that's really just a part of kind of the family.
So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational or that you could soak up some good from them being around them, who'd it be?
Yeah, so I would say that's a really good question. Um, hmm. I will say, I'm gonna say two names, but this is the same person. So Donald Glover,
Yeah.
who's also Childish Gambino,
Uh-huh.
or Tyler the Creator. I'm gonna say those two. And it's just because people, I'm not gonna say they make fun of me, but you may be someone who has a lot of ideas, right? Where you can do multiple things, like you have a lot of talent. So if you're feeling like that and you feel like, what's wrong with me? Just know that you're gifted. It's okay. So I would want to talk to someone who's done that. That's, they've done singing, they've done acting, they've done TV shows, film, carnivals, to really look at, okay, how do you focus, but then also use those different gifts that you have to create all of that additional income.
So what is the motivation for you every day to wake up, to be an entrepreneur, to be a creator? You're doing right, left brain work, and you also have to evolve as a human being. What is that collective gas in your tank every day?
Yeah, so each day I would say before is that I really just want to get to a place where I'm just at peace with where I'm at. Like I feel like in the beginning it was like, staying up late to, I have like my illustrator is in Romania, so the that time difference there is a gap. So there will be kind of late nights that I'm up or early in the morning. And right now I'm just to a place where I just want to be happy with what I'm doing and actually live in a space where I'm actually spending more time on my passion.
So what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Create a business, not a job.
Wow. Yeah. I've always heard the best thing I've ever heard about being an entrepreneur is you're trying to solve a problem. If you go into it thinking you're going to make a million overnight, you got to go into it being practical, wanting to solve a problem.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say that with that creating a business, not a job, um, sometimes you may find yourself in that place. So with that, that just means I did a lot of it by myself, right? And I just created another job for myself. But if you create a business and have systems and you have a team, you're able to go on vacation and still enjoy your life. So that's sometimes that I see people feel like that's a trade-off that, oh, you created this business, but that means now that you have to work like 70, 80 hours, but you want to make it where you can take a step back and the business still runs by itself. So just, and if you feel like you're in that place right now, it's okay to just take a step back and start slowly building your team.
So, what's the best fan letter you've ever gotten?
Oh my gosh. The best fan letter. Oh man, the best fan letter. Well, being that I have some younger kiddos that are reading my children's books, I would say that my children's book range is about kindergarten to first grade that are reading my book. But I get a lot of just so I'll give an example. So I did a webinar, story time, and coloring, right? I do that from time to time because I think it's fun for children to get hands-on when they're reading. And what lights me up every time is that I did it where a video played, someone coloring, and I'm just like, okay, I think we're just going to come on and, just see how everybody's doing. But when I came back on screen, I didn't have to say anything. Like they held up their picture with Buddy and they were so smiling and so excited. And it's those little things that you're not really expecting that you're like, wow, like I made an impact. It may not be in the way that you thought, but you were able to bring this happiness and all amongst literacy, which is important. So that's like the fan things that I like to see.
So, of everything that you've done and accomplished and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm. Everything that I talk about really comes back to when I first published that first children's book for me. And it's just because it's so much that I went through to get it accomplished, right? So some people think like you're sitting with, with your window open and there's birds chirping and, and butterflies flying as you're writing and self-publishing. But, you really have to just have perseverance and to still go through your day-to-day life that you have through the challenges, ups and downs. Sometimes you may have writer's block or you're just not sure what your next step is. But that day-to-day learning to be disciplined, that is something that I'm most proud of because I'm able to use that and put that on other projects and still challenge myself and also challenge others to make their dream a reality.
So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, colleagues, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, I'm not controlling. I'm just kidding. But I would say that definitely that, and I actually got the privilege of being able to do a kind of like spiritual gifts, and I highly recommend if you haven't done that yet, maybe check that out. But I was able to kind of look and understand that just naturally I am like a teacher. Naturally, I am a giver. If I take a disc assessment on who I am and what I am, I'm a supporter, right? So it really makes sense of the roles and the careers that I have taken is that I'm there to help guide someone along the finish line and to just be able to do that with a sense of comfort, right? So I love to do that. I love to be able to teach others where maybe they're afraid to go somewhere, but I'm able to bring that leader and leadership to them to bring them across the finish line and be like, see, you had it in you all along.
Yeah. So the beauty of being a writer is you create these worlds that people get to mentally come into. But of all of the books and stories that you've read, what would be a world that someone's created that you would love to walk into and explore as though it's real?
So okay, so as soon as you said what you said, I just automatically think of like Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Okay. Like I just do. Like I think of Jurassic Park, I think of Harry Potter, but that's easy to do because you can go to Disney World
yes, you
and
can.
literally hop on the ride now
Yeah.
and really or the train that they have at Universal Studios that connects the two parks. And really that's really inspiring to me because that was something that was just a book, right? Whether you're on the Toy Story ride that has now turned into something that people of all generations can come and enjoy.
So if anyone wants to get your books, hire you, reach out, learn more about what you're doing, where's the best place to go?
Yes, you can check out my children's books at buddythebearbooks.com. And then also, I meet a lot of people that say, I have this children's book. I just have it in me. I don't know what to do. You're more than happy to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Victoria Allen. And then the website is pen2selfpublish.com.
Excellent. Victoria, this has been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your work. Best of luck with everything.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Take care.